I'm Kristen, the cross-stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross-stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And I have a lot of good life stuff to share with you today. So hopefully you can stick around with me towards the end of this episode where I can share with you some exciting stuff that I've been able to experience and a lot of stitching as well. I've actually surprised myself with how much stitching I've been able to do since we've last caught up, especially with how busy life has been as well. So let's get into it. Before I really jump into all the stitching that I've done over the last couple of weeks, I just want to do, I guess, a little bit of a flashback to my last episode where I was all excited and still am excited about a finish that I did on some stitching connected with a pattern by Fiddlesticks AU. And this is the pattern that I stitched and I had received as a free chart as part of the online remote digital, whatever wording I need to use for that, Mittagong Stitches retreat that happened back in 2020. And it's just taken me a little while to get around to stitching it. And I'm so thankful that I did because it was a really enjoyable stitch. And it wasn't until I took the finished piece to work and showed my team members the finish that I did that one of my team members correctly pointed out to me that it reads, "It's time to be bold, daring." Yet I was pronouncing it as, "It's time to be bold, darling." So this is me just not reading things properly, yet I stitched it correctly, where I definitely stitched it as, "It's time to be bold, daring." So again, I just wanted to just quickly touch on that, where it was me being a bit odd in terms of not reading things clearly. So that said, what have I actually at least done over the last couple of weeks since we caught up? So on the 4th of February, I put some work into a piece called The Inner Works of Life. That's the official name. I have nicknamed it Tree of Life. And this particular piece is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and it's artwork by, I want to say Julie Fain. However, Julie Fain is associated with another piece that I am working on. However, this particular piece is artwork by Stephanie Law. So this is the piece that I'm working on, and towards the end of my last episode, I had also done some work on this on the 3rd of February. So I felt like I was on a roll. I wanted to get some more stitches put into this. So on the 3rd of February, I put 146 stitches into it. And then on the 4th of February, I was able to put another 102 stitches in. So without further ado, this is where I'm at. So what I've done with this piece is I've started as close as I practically can to the center of the chart. And I guess we could almost start to say that this would be where a part of the tree branch is, and then there's just a lot of lighter coloured background that's happening for the branch or piece, however we want to word it. It's all okay. So I will probably use the phrasing throughout this episode of wanting to put more work into these pieces. However, the aim of February for me is freestyling and full coverage February. So my aim is to focus most of my attention on full coverage. However, February is such a nutty month for me and my immediate family because we've got at least 3 birthdays in the immediate family. Then we also know many people outside of our family who have birthdays and we're wanting to celebrate them being in our lives when those times come around. Then we've also had other life stuff that have as thrown curveballs for us. At the moment, it doesn't feel like those curveballs are nice curveballs or warranted in any shape or form. However, they are curveballs that are going to make us stronger into the future, and we will be better off for those curveballs. That said, the next piece that I have to share with you that I worked on the 5th of February was the Summer in Stars Hollow, and I've worked on Summer in Stars Hollow a few times in February, and I'm just trying to see if I can find some kind of mock-up or something. So this is just a quick mock-up and is not going to do it fully justice of what has been stitched and what needs to be stitched. So on the 5th of February, I put 108 stitches into it, and I used the segue of curveballs because Gilmore Girls, if you have ever watched an episode or watched the series from start to end, whether it be once or multiple times, you'll know that there are always curveballs that come across the paths of the Gilmore Girls, and that's part of what makes the series so cool, interesting, and a series that I am regularly watching in between other true crime or horror thriller kind of documentaries, movies, limited series things. So it's my palette cleanser, so to speak, for in between those things. And I'm enjoying getting Summer and Stars Hollow done. And there are times when I wonder if I will get it completed before the Winter and Stars Hollow Stitching Retreat at the end of March. However, I think I'll get it done. If I've got the motivation to do it, I know I'll get it done. Okay, so with the next few days from the 6th, now I've got notes in front of me, from the 6th of February through to, where will we be? Through to, I guess the 6th and 7th of February, I did get a little bit of stitching done. However, I am working on whatchamacallit. I had the wording in my brain before when I was ironing out some of these pieces for this Flosstube. So I am stitching a piece that will be, where the chart will be released in November. I swear the wording will come to me later, hopefully while I am still filming, so I can let you know what it is. But if you know what wording I'm missing, you'll hopefully know what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so on the 6th of Feb, I was stitching the model stitch. I was stitching the model piece for a pattern that will be released in November. It is one of my own designs, based on some artwork and such that I have manipulated in some other software. So I'm going to be really cryptic about this particular piece for several months until we get to October, when I will be spruiking these things that I'm wanting to do in November. So I really hope that you can stick around for all of that. So I did mention that I've stitched on Summer and Stars Hollow a few times, and on the 8th of February I did stitch Summer and Stars Hollow, but I didn't note down how many stitches I've got into it. However, I do want to note that, where are we? So I did put 108 stitches in Summer and Stars Hollow. So I imagine that I may have put a similar amount on the 8th. The 7th of February, I got no stitching done because I travelled from Wollongong to Canberra. And I guess with the 8th of February, I might have gotten like a tiny little bit of stitching done, 100 stitches maximum, because 8th of February, I was in Canberra and I was packing up my home a little bit. So again, that's connected to life stuff that I'll talk a little bit later. 9th of Feb was also model stitching. 10th and 11th of Feb, I was traveling again, and I'm going to reserve that, and it's an exciting travel. Reserve that excitement bit for the end of the episode, where I'm talking more about life stuff. So ultimately, it wasn't until the 12th of February that I actually got to do a bit more stitching, because on the 12th of February, I had the day off work, and it was an intentional day because I needed to recover from the traveling that I was doing on the 10th and the 11th. And sorry, my brain has gone just for a moment there. So I did some model stitching, but I also did some work on the artwork that is by Fain, and it is another heaven and earth design. And so as I was trying to get my thoughts together, I finally found the cover page. So this is Moonlit Waters, based on artwork by Julie Fain, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and this particular piece is the Max Colours. And this is a very much a slow work in progress, and I've been focusing most of my time around the wings here still, and it doesn't seem like a lot of progress has been made since we last caught up, because I've really only put 100 stitches in. On the 12th of February, I really was feeling the mojo for stitching on the model piece, and this is where I wanted to just get a minimum of 100 stitches in. And whilst I have been trying to focus on filling in around where the wings are, I also wanted to do some focus on, I guess, the light stitching. And the awkwardness that we have here is the light stitches are really close to the light coloured fabric here, but it's going to get there in the end, because I guess it's going to be light for a while, because we've got the fairy that is being backlit by the awesome looking moon. And yeah, it is going to be beautiful artwork. So again, this is just my appreciation of the artwork of Julie Fain, and it's just beautiful. It really is. And with that in mind, switching almost, I couldn't even say a 360, because what would be the opposite of a fairy? Would the opposite of a fairy be goblins or ghouls or non non non-fey, I don't know. I'm not quite sure where I'm going on that one. So, on a completely different note though, the next piece that I did some work on is a piece that I've nicknamed Pisces, and it's a combination of a picture that I'd found on the internet, along with a quote that I think fits just so well with Pisces. And if I can press the right buttons, life would be wonderful. Okay, so this is a mock-up of roughly what the piece will look like when it's done, and I totally appreciate that the quote that's in the middle doesn't appear very well, at least on screen. And what the quote is saying is, Pisces, not everyone gets the same version of me. One person will tell you I'm a beautiful soul. Another will tell you I'm a cold-hearted asshole. Believe both. I act accordingly. And I know that when I've talked about this piece in the past, I've certainly noted that there are times where it sounds quite sassy, and with the way life is at the moment, especially with some very recent experiences I've had out in the world, I think the quote is fitting. So this is where I'm at the moment, and I've been mostly focusing just under the word another. I apologise for any sounds that you might be hearing in the background. It seems like some of the locals have woken up and are deciding that today is a beautiful day, and it truly is a beautiful day to take their loud motorbikes out and about. So I've been mostly working on this section just here, and it really doesn't feel like I've done enough, but apparently this is roughly 151 stitches. So I'm doing this using all DNC threads on 28 count fabric, 2/2. So it's going to be quite big, and it's going to require me to use some of my creative juices to see how I can get this to fit on the fabric. We'll get there. The next piece that I have to share with you is Spring in Stars Hollow, a chart that has been designed by the Black Needle Society, and I think is quite fitting for the 14th of February because for many of us it is Valentine's Day and celebrating the female friendships that we are part of, and celebrating, I guess, the general friendship that females have with each other. So this is where I think stitching on a piece for Gilmore Girls is just perfect. This is the piece this is what it will look like when it's done. And I know that if you're a regular watcher of this channel, you've heard me mention several times before that the the stitching pieces, or the what is the words I'm looking for? I think I need a second coffee for today because my words are starting to go. The retreat pieces that I have been working on to do with the Stars Hollow stitching retreats, they've almost been a choose your own adventure, in the sense that I am sticking as close as I can to the colours that are charted. And for some of these specialty threads that I definitely don't have in my stash and I'm not going to actively purchase, I've chosen some similar colours, or in the case of the dragonfly here, completely different colours that I have in my stash that I really want to feature. So what I've done here is I've finished most of the body for the dragonfly. I'm actually stitching the charted colours for the wings. And what I'm going to do for the head of the dragonfly is to still use the variegated thread that came in one of the retreat boxes, and I can't remember the exact name of the thread right now. I know that it's a colouring cotton floss, and I want to call it fairy floss, or if I don't call it fairy floss, I'd be calling it some kind of unicorn because of the colours that I attribute to unicorns and similar mythical creatures. And I have been able to put roughly 150 stitches in for this piece. I can't remember the exact number, and I've also done a little bit of the background, but the camera's not focusing very well. The very light colours as well that blend in super well with the fabric, and I guess I'm saying roughly 150 because I didn't keep proper count, partly because I'm just going by the physical chart and I don't want to mark the chart too much because I'd like to be able to perhaps stitch it again and actually maybe use all of the called for colours, or even perhaps stitch it the way that it's meant to be, where we have all 4 seasons in a row. And I do actually, sorry about that. I really needed to pause and gather my thoughts because where I was leading with my previous train of thought is the other day I was watching some Flosstube, specifically episode 45 of Crazy Band Lady Stitches, who I have been part of, I guess, the Facebook group chats that have been set up by the Black Needle Society when we've had the Gilmore Girls stitching retreats. And what I got excited about when I was watching that episode of Crazy Band Lady Stitches is she is actually stitching the pieces in a row, and I wasn't going to be able to properly describe it the way that it needs to be. So if you are curious about stitching it in a row and what it's going to look like, check out Crazy Band Lady Stitches because she's doing a fantastic job of that. And I know that there are people on Instagram as well who have been sharing their pieces. And where I'm leading with this as well is the excitement that I had when Crazy Band Lady Stitches was sharing her progress on this summer in Stars Hollow, because my boyfriend was sitting next to me on the couch and I was able to quickly pull out my Summer in Stars Hollow and share with him, saying, see, that's what my piece is going to look like, and acknowledge that my colours will be looking a little bit different because of the changes and personalizations that I've chosen to do. And I love that he was able to go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing there, and appreciate where I was coming from without him trying to imagine what my waffling was all about, and being able to get that straight away visual hit of going, yeah, okay, that's what's going on. So again, thank you for bearing with me on this slight tangent of my thinking as well, and allowing me to do a shout out of a fellow floss tuber. And let's get back into the stitching that I've been doing. And the next piece that I have been able to work on is a stitch in time, and this is a piece that I haven't worked on for a long time, and I am being flexible with my choices for stitching in February because life has been nutty, and I'll definitely be able to talk a little bit about it when we get to the end of this episode, and we are getting closer. And it'll make a bit more sense for why I'm being as disjointed as I am. So this artwork is by Amy Stewart, and this is the mini version of A Stitch in Time, and I totally appreciate that many people have seen this piece before in various states or stages of progress. And this is, I guess, a mock-up of what it will look like when it's done. And I know that I've mentioned before that I love seeing everyone's progress, and I've put 184 stitches into this piece, and I've been mostly focusing on the green section here and just filling things in, filling in a little bit of the blue lights, I guess, that hang, or blue ornaments that are hanging from the tree a bit. And when I do get into the groove for stitching this, I have loved how it's flowed, and I love seeing how it's coming together. And I'm hoping this can make a bit more of an appearance throughout the rest of the year, because while we are roughly in the middle of February, today is the 18th of February, and we are getting closer to March, and in roughly a month's time, I'm going to be starting up again the AFL Stitching Challenge. And AFL is the Australian. Did I mention that I need another coffee? Uh, AFL is the Australian Football League, and it is a unique sport to Australia. It is quite similar to Gaelic football, but this is a challenge that I've done for myself that has worked out pretty well over the last few years. So this will perhaps be the third year of me doing this particular challenge, and it has meant that the I've been able to finish a few pieces because of this challenge. And if by chance you're curious about what I'm talking about, head on over to the Hot Cross Stitching official website, and there will be a page on some stitching challenges, and there is a PDF that you can download that gives you a full-blown rundown of what the challenge is all about, how it works, and if you are curious about doing this challenge, noting that this challenge does follow the AFL season, so it will start midway through March and it will finish in roughly September, so roughly early September, because that's when the grand final will be. And the premise is to assign projects to the 12 teams that make up the league, and then if you want to, or you can do any variation in between, check out the PDF. I'm not going to ramble on too much just yet because this year I'm inkling to do something just a little bit different. So yeah, anyway, let's get back to the stitching and what I have actually done for the last couple of weeks, because I've got two more pieces to share with you. The next piece that I did do a bit of work on, because I couldn't resist, we haven't talked about any hot cross stitching pieces yet. So this next piece is called the Black and White Rolled Up Daisy, and it is available for PDF download or physical chart purchase on Etsy and the official Hot Cross Stitching website. This is based on a photograph that I took many years ago and converted into a cross stitch piece. And I am using Pattern Keeper in this case to do the stitching. And I have put 264 stitches into this piece. And this is where I'm at. And without a doubt, this piece always looks better through the camera than what it does when I'm in the throes of focusing on the stitching. And it's when I take that step back and share with you my progress on this piece, or I take a photograph of it, or anything in between, I get to appreciate the work that I've put into this piece. Currently, I'm stitching this on 18 count Black Ada, and I think Black Ada, or 18 count rather, is working out really well for this piece, because I'm definitely going to have the right amount of fabric that I need as a border around it to then help with some framing, and it's going to be pretty cool. I'm curious, just for my own benefit, how many stitches I've put into it. So I'm at 35% for this piece, and there are in total 63,953 stitches. Also noting that with this piece, I've started stitching the background in 10th stitch, and I am stitching the model piece for this chart. And what I'm learning is that if I do a re-release or updated release of this chart, that I'm going to remove the background, because for me as a stitcher, if I had purchased this chart, I would be getting annoyed with stitching the background. That's just me. But I think it's worth stitching the flower though. I do like it, but I'm biased. The last piece that I do have to share with you though is a Kustom Krafts chart, and the design work is by Dyanne Allaire. I don't have the cover page with me to share with you. However, I have been able to put, how many have I put? 251 stitches into it. So I've started a new page, and this is where I'm at. And I think a couple of years ago, I did some calculations, and the calculations with that I had perhaps a fraction over 10,000 stitches to go before the piece was done. So, in theory, if I solely worked on that piece and put perhaps a minimum of 2 hours per day into the piece, that I would be able to have the piece done by the end of this year without any worries. I swear it's famous last words of any stitcher, and we always have the best of intentions to focus on a piece, get things done, and then we are distracted by other patterns that come across our paths. We are influenced by other people and what they're working on, and I love it. I really do. So that's it for all of my stitching. And just before I move on to live stuff, I do also want to do another shout out of another floss tuber that I was watching yesterday. So I was watching the Bougie Stitches or Bougie Sisters. So I've got my phone in front of me, and I'm just double checking my history of what I've been watching, and it was, I swear it was Bougie Sisters or Bougie Stitches. Either way, they're sisters, and they are both very talented, crafty people. They both do quilting as well as cross stitching, and towards the end of their recent episode, one of the sisters had asked the question of what their inspiration. So I guess asking us viewers what our inspiration is to do the cross stitching, in terms of why we choose certain patterns to work on, and what keeps us motivated perhaps to work on those pieces. And I love that the sisters were quite different with their responses for that. I don't remember exactly what was said, but if you are curious, I recommend that you go and check out their channel, and yeah, stay to the very end, because it is an episode that was perhaps a little over an hour, and well worth the watch. Though they are both very interesting to watch. But it got me thinking, and it reminded me of a blog post that I wrote a few years ago for my own blog called The Cross Stitching Runner. And it was me thinking about uh, what could be done to try and motivate yourself to get stitching again. So if you've lost your stitching bug, or just talking about the different things that can motivate us for stitching on different pieces. I'm going through a little bit of a phase of wanting to start everything. The motivations behind choosing what to stitch varies between who I can stitch it for, and that was a little bit of what I think Jenny's motivation from the Bougie Stitches. Her motivation is who she's going to be stitching it for, or already knowing how she's going to finish it, where it's going to hang up in her home, or if it's going to be stitched for some family or friends. And for me, I can definitely relate to that a bit, because for some of the pieces that I've worked on in the past, I've seen a particular child and going, yes, I know exactly where that's going to go in my home, or I know that a particular family member or particular friend would appreciate that piece, especially when it's finished. And that can help a lot with getting the motivation to stitch a piece. If I'm stitching it for myself, it would perhaps be what the key themes are in that piece. So it could be like Midnight Glow, the horse. It's the fact that I love horses, and I've been lucky enough to grow up around them, and be able to learn how to ride them as well. In other cases, it's the fact that I love Gilmore Girls and the TV show, and the charts that have been designed by Katie Landis specifically for the Black Needle Society. It's those sort of things that can motivate. It's also the colours of a piece. So I'm thinking of the rainbow colours that are used in the Zebras piece that in future months I'll be able to put some more work into. Or my other motivation might be Fight Like a Girl, that you will definitely see in future months. Fight Like a Girl is a full coverage piece that featured heavily over the last couple of years as part of the AFL Stitching Challenge that I'm doing, and it is a piece that I'm stitching for my niece. So it's those sort of things where it's partly to do with what my interests are, partly to do with the interests of family and friends and what I think they will like. So that's it. I'm just going to go and grab a coffee. My throat is getting croaky and dry, and we'll come back for a life update. Thank you all so much for sticking around for this next segment of life stuff. And February, I always know February is a nutty month because it's a short month and it is a social month when it comes to birthdays in my immediate family and friends who have got birthdays and all the like. And this particular month has had some extra busyness, nuttiness, and everything that goes with it because my boyfriend and I, we travelled to Canberra to clean up or pack up, sorry, some of the stuff of our personal items that we've had in cupboards, drawers, and such that are now being stored away to enable my sister and family to move in to our home in Canberra because of some personal stuff that she's going through. And I think it's worked out beautifully in the end because it means that we've got some people in our home, and my sister especially loves gardening. It's one of her happy places in the sense of stress releases that she needs. It helps to calm her, and I love that for her because I can garden. It doesn't bring me joy though because I end up as a snotty, rashy mess by the end of it because I get hay fever, and it's the grasses especially that tend to irritate me, and the pollens in springtime, especially, and a little bit in summer when things are drying off, that irritate me significantly. And it can also be when grass is being cut and it's dried off, and if it happens to be a bit of a windy day, or I've been walking through grassy areas and I've kicked up some of the dry cuttings, my body reacts negatively to it, unfortunately. So this is what I'm thankful that my sister and her family are in our home, because I know that she is going to be able to take wonderful care of the place, and it's helping us out a little bit as well to keep the place looking lived in. And that's where it was a bit busy with packing things up. However, I also feel guilty leaving the packing process towards the end because my boyfriend did an amazing job of moving a whole heap of things from one part of our home into the other on his own, and it took a lot of energy out of him. And with his health condition, that we need to be careful about how energy is used and all the rest. I'm being super vague on this, but it'll be worth it in the end, especially in November when a project piece that I'm working on patterns will be released, and it'll be all good. Where I'm also getting out on this is on Saturday, the 10th of February. I travelled from Canberra up to Sydney with my mum to go and see Pink in concert. That was such an amazing concert to go and see. That was a belated birthday present to myself, because last year I turned 40 and the tickets went on sale February/March, and I really, really wanted to go to the concert. So I had said to Mum, look, I've bought a couple of tickets, and I know that Mum would definitely enjoy seeing Pink because we've both seen her in concert when Pink came to Canberra, and we weren't let down. Like, we always know that Pink puts on such an amazing performance, and we love her music. And I know that there are hundreds of thousands of fans here in Australia who love Pink and her amazing acrobatics and everything that she does. And if by chance you are a fan of Pink as well, and you've by chance seen her in concert, or you've seen footage on the internet and such, you will know just how amazing she is. And I love that she has the courage to stand up for what she strongly believes in, and for muchness, she doesn't take shit from people. And she's even turned some of the negativity that she's received from other people into really strong, powerful songs that are amazing songs. They really are. So I could probably ramble on about Pink and what I think of her for a long time, but I won't. Uh, I just had a really amazing time, really enjoyed it, and the tickets that we got were really great seats. We had a side-on view of the set of the stage, and it was just the vibe of the stadium as well. Like, everyone wanted to be there, and we were all just really getting into the music, into her performance. And what I also love with Pink's performances is that she's been performing with the same group of people for 20 plus years, and they all know each other so well that if there are any hiccups, glitches, or whichever throughout the concert, that they're all able to ad lib and do what needs to be done to cover any delays or hiccups that occurred, and everyone still has a really good time. A lot of the time, as an audience member, you don't notice it until you then think, "Oh, hang on, she should be back on stage by now. What's going on?" So that, I think, is a testament to how much of a professional she is, and how much her team are professional as well, with being able to do all of that. So that was just the absolute excitement of that weekend, and it definitely took a toll out of my mum and I with energy levels and just traveling and that kind of thing. Even though we did get to briefly pause here at Wollongong to then travel up to Sydney, um, it's just a little bit different. It's probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours travel between here and Sydney. But that said, the concert was awesome. That's what was going on there. And I didn't get to do any stitching, unfortunately, because we actually needed to catch a bus instead of the train, because there was some maintenance work that needed to happen on the tracks for the trains. So it is what it is. It's all okay, and the buses were quite busy as well, with a lot of people being on the bus. So I didn't get to have as much elbow room as what I need for the stitching. So we've had the packing up of Canberra, we've had travelling to Sydney. They've been the two biggest things with life stuff that's gone on. I'm in the middle of a running plan, training plan at the moment because early April I'm going to be traveling to Canberra to participate in one of the annual fun runs that are there, and I'll be running just the 5.4K distance. They do have longer distances like the 10K, half marathon, and full marathon. And when I recently caught up with a friend in Canberra, she made me chuckle, and it also helped me to remember the language that I use sometimes when I talk with non-runners, when I say that I'm running a 5K, and the wording that my friend had used was saying, "Oh yes, Kristen, you're running a 5K marathon," and it had me laughing quite a bit and sort of face palming as well, because 5 kilometers and a marathon are two ends of the spectrum of distances. So you've got your 5 kilometers, which is 5 kilometers, but a marathon is, depending on whether you're thinking miles or kilometers. Kilometers, it's 42.2, 42.1 kilometers. In a marathon, it's for miles 23 or 21 point so many miles. And the language that as a runner I need to use is saying that I'm participating in the 5K fun run. And the awkwardness for where my language gets muddled is that on the day of the fun run, you've got several different distances being run, and the name of the entire event would be the Canberra Times Marathon, or when I've travelled up to Queensland to participate in fun runs up there, I catch myself out and end up saying the Gold Coast Marathon when I should be saying the Gold Coast 5K, the Gold Coast Airport 5K fun run. But when I say Gold Coast Airport Fun Run, people think, oh, you're running around at the airport, are you? And that's where I have to say, no, that's just the name of the event. The actual distance I'm running, the course that I'm running, is part of the marathon that is being run by people who are actually running the marathon. And that's where it can be awkward for a non-runner to understand what's going on. So again, it's just one of those funny things of non-runners saying, oh yes, she runs marathons, she runs these 5 kilometer marathons, and it's like, yeah, it's two different things. It's hilarious. It is quite entertaining. And speaking of running, this is actually a little bit more of a serious note, and I'm needing to be careful with my language here because I don't want to come across as a Debbie Downer, so to speak, or bringing down the vibe, but it's something that I feel strongly about to talk about, because as a female, whether I go for walks or runs, and I hope that viewers here who are trying to be active as well, whether it be through walking, running, or or cycling even, or other things that keeps you active, where you're going out in your hometown, home suburbs to be active. I felt privileged to live in areas of Canberra where for 90% of the time, if not 99% of the time, I have felt safe. And for me, that's super important. And I think it's important for everyone. And I appreciate that for men and boys, it may be a little bit different for you. And if you are a male viewer, I'm curious to find out your perspectives on this one. If if you need to consider your environment from a safety perspective when you're going out and being active, if that is something you need to consider, or if it's something that you just don't think about, you just go out and do. The reason why I'm saying all this is since I've moved up to Wollongong, 90% of the time I do feel safe walking around, running and being active in around here. There was an incident, there's been several incidents, however, since I've been here. We've been here for a year and 4 months, roughly, not quite 18 months, where there have been times in broad daylight where I've not felt safe. I've felt harassed. I have, yeah, harassed is probably harassed and unsafe as being the best words that I can use. And sadly, I don't see it changing anytime too soon. And I don't know how I can change it. I don't know if I'm a smish, a shmish, a fish in a pond or an ocean that it just feels too hard. What I'm getting at though is on Friday I was working from home and I went out for a walk. It was middle of the day, like midday, somewhere between midday and 12:30. Sunny day, and I was walking. I was wearing fitness clothing, so it was form-fitting clothing, so 3/4 length pants and a tank top. And I am busty, and I walked past a construction site, and these particular construction workers thought that it was a good idea to be catcalling, and using derogatory words, and derogatory sounds to, I assume they thought that they were trying to perhaps show their appreciation of what they saw. And I felt sexually harassed. And I felt unsafe, and I wanted to get as far away from that site as I could. So I have learnt that during the working week, I cannot go for any walks or runs in some of the suburbs around here at Wollongong, where construction of homes, units, and all the rest are being done, because I don't want to put myself in a similar situation of blokes who choose to act that way. I shouldn't have to be concerned about where I go for runs, as long as I am not interfering with anyone else, as long as I'm going about it safely for me and those around me. I should be able to go wherever I need to or want to without feeling harassed. That's a learning curve. I'm also learning to get a thicker skin, to not let that kind of stuff bother me, because it does. So that is a learning curve for me, because in Canberra I've been lucky enough to not experience that as much. I am aware of people gawking, or staring for longer than what they should, and I've learnt to ignore it, and put it down to them being jealous that they are stuck in a car, or and have to drive somewhere, and that they don't have the ability to go out and run and move the way that they want to or the way they should. So I have been on other runs where I've felt intimidated by cyclists and other runners who are running in my direct line of path. And here in Australia, at least, we're taught to stay left on the footpaths, whether we be walking, running, or cycling. And there are designated paths for both modes or all three modes of transport. So for as a runner, we run on the footpaths where the pedestrians are as well, and there are designated lanes for the cyclists as well. So I do stay left on the pedestrian footpath or the walker's footpath, and there's been a few instances of some cyclists and runners who have been running or cycling in paths, or even pedestrians as well, who are ignorant, who are potentially in their own world and aren't fully paying attention and just go like, oh shit, yeah, I should move out of the way. Oh, who would have thunk? But there are others who have been actively riding or running towards me to try and intimidate me. That's how I've interpreted the situation. And it sucks. It really does. It makes me angry and upset that in this modern day and age of 2024, for goodness sake, that this is happening and it shouldn't. I also acknowledge that in Wollongong there are a significant number of blue collar workers compared with office workers, and especially in Canberra, there's a lot more office workers compared with blue collar workers. And what I'm hinting at with this is it can sometimes be a socioeconomic factor that can lead to the way some people choose to behave. Sometimes it can be educated people as well who have personal struggles going on that are influencing their behaviour as well. So it's just something about, I guess, two different locations that whilst they're in Australia, that there's that kind of impact as well. So yeah, it's one of those situations where as female active people, we don't talk about it enough, of some of the challenges we go through just trying to get out there and be fit and active. And then sometimes we have people around us not understanding why we act in a particular way. If we're out walking, then all of a sudden just not feel safe and wanting to yeah, cross the road because we don't like the way that someone is appearing, and just a vibe that we get, or just a change in the headspace. So to try and change things up and change my perspective of things and to thicken my skin a little bit, I also need to acknowledge how other people might be feeling. So let's say, for example, I'm going for a run, going for a walk. There might be something about my appearance that other people might feel intimidated by, even though I'm short, I am a little bit wide. So there might be something about the way my body jiggles, moves, and such that they might feel threatened by or uncomfortable about. And that could be part of why they are reacting that particular way. There might be something about my facial expressions. And I'm laughing a little bit with this because there was recently something on the internet that had been shared amongst my team members at work where, as much as I may verbally stay quiet about things, my face has subtitles. So I am a very expressive person with my facial features, and even if I don't say that I'm not happy about something, or I don't agree with something that's been said or done, even if I don't say something, my face says it all, and it's gotten me into trouble sometimes. Not in a full-blown negative trouble, but I've certainly had other people around me observe my facial expressions and be like, oh, okay, Kristen's not happy about that. We've got to be careful about what's going on. Or they'll call me out on it and they'll ask, okay, you don't appear to be too happy about what's just been said or done, Kristen. What are your thoughts? Do you have anything that you like to say here? And so I need to be careful of my facial expressions as well, and try and keep those in check because of the impacts that they can have on the world around me as well. So I guess it's a two-way street in that one. As much as I was grumbling and feeling upset about recent events, I need to be aware of my own actions as well. I need to be aware of when and where I am being active, and find different places where I can feel safe to go out and be active, and hopefully I can reduce the amount of discomfort that I feel when I'm interacting with the world around me. So that is a bit of a heavy way to end a Flosstube, and I guess future plans. Now that we're getting towards the end of February, life is definitely going to settle down a bit. There will still be a bit of travel going on, perhaps not as much between Wollongong and Canberra. I know that we are looking to travel down to the south coast next weekend, because next weekend it will be my birthday, and my boyfriend and I will also be celebrating another year of our awesomeness of being together. And I'm starting to lose track of the years of how long we've been together. I've been thrown out of balance with stuff that's going on. So I think we're at least coming up to 13 years of being together. So I'm leaning toward, yes, I think it will be 13 years, because this year in August, it will be 14 years since I moved into my home at Canberra, and, or I guess now I can say it's been 14 years since I've been an owner of a home in Canberra, and sadly it will be 14 years since one of my uncles passing away. So it's a bittersweet anniversary, that one. But we'll focus on the short term here and focus on the happiness of celebrating another birthday, of being here, of being alive here, and celebrating the awesomeness that is the relationship between my boyfriend and I. And it'll be good. It'll be nice to have another sea change, just briefly sea change, and yeah, relax, chill out, hopefully get a lot of stitching done. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you all again for hearing me out with these particular rambles and life updates, and I look forward to catching up with all of you again in another couple of weeks and wrapping up the month of February and the stitching that I've done, and being flexible, and then figuring out what my stitching is going to look like in the first couple of weeks at most of March. And who knows? Who knows? But thank you all again for your time. If you've enjoyed the stitching at least, and what you've seen and done, or what I've seen and done, and everything in between, make sure you click on that like and subscribe button. And if you do have any questions or comments about this video and anything that I've said or shown or anything like that, I would love to hear your comments, or see your comments in the comments below, and we'll go from there. But until then, happy stitching, everyone.